you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of TNInews. Now, it's been a pretty crazy morning here at Toy News Central, and we've got a lot to cover today, including G.I. Joe, which we did end up finally getting pre-orders. It was a little iffy there, but the pre-orders, most of the pre-orders anyway, did end up dropping today. So we're going to talk about all of that. Of course, the live stream for G.I. Joe that was planned by Hasbro was canceled at the last minute. But again, we still got most of the pre-orders. So we're going to talk about that. We've got the official reveal for the new Marvel Legends San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. As I suspected, as we talked about before, that Shanna, the She-Devil figure, is part of that set. So we'll talk about that. And we've got other things as well, Transformer reveals from yesterday's live stream, and a few other things. So let's do a quick roll call, see who is in the house. We've got Judge Dreads is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. We've got Zim in the house as well. Ordered a battalion of bats on Big Bad Toy Store. Nice. Alonzo, what is up? Let's rock, JC. We need the news. That's what I'm here for. Paciano, what a mess. All of this bumbled pre-order, stupid exclusives. Mr. Allmine, what is up? Good to see you, my friend. Hobgoblin 85 is in the house. We've got the Mass Figure Collector. Hope all is well with you and your family as well. Good to see Quinn's Comics in the house. It's been a little while, my friend. I called it on the Savage Land Rogue figure. I'm sad to hear it is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Yeah, the Rogue figure. I think, using the same body, we figured that was coming, and it doesn't surprise me. It's part of the San Diego Comic-Con set. Mac Zombie in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Judge Dreads, already called on you, but great. Another eBay exclusive. Paciano, agreeing with Quinn's Comics. All right, so let's since you guys have gotten the ball rolling, let's jump over to Marvelous News and take a look at this year's official Marvel Legends San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So they're actually listing this set as part of the Gamerverse line for the Snap game. I guess, was that a mobile game? I don't know. I lose track with some of the more modern stuff. But that Shanna figure that Hasbro had announced, was it a month ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that? That is in fact going to be, as I and probably others suspected, San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So, scantily clad female figures, just reeks of something like Comic-Con exclusive. Again, the Rogue figure from Savage Land also included here. So here are some new looks at the Shanna figure. I think the Shanna figure looks really good. The Sauron figure, I think, is primarily just a reissue of the Build-A-Figure. I don't know if there's any new parts there. You got some new accessories with like the I-beam accessory there. I want to say maybe his shorts are different color, a little bit different paint apps, but I think that is the same figure as before. You get some spears and a rifle and a knife. So I had to laugh because I saw some people suggest that this Rogue face sculpt looks like Miley Cyrus. And after I read that, I can't kind of look at this figure and see that. So, I don't know. But definitely looks, interesting. But overall, I'm glad they finally did that version of Rogue. I know a lot of people wanted it. Now, here's the thing. So, definitely San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Price on this is $89.99. It's going to be available for folks at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, I guess they're doing the raffle type system at Comic-Con because, in the official press release released by Hasbro, it talks about how you'll end up having to go to the San Diego Comic-Con website to register and stuff, which is something they've been doing, I think, more and more in recent years. And then, of course, like they've been saying with all their Comic-Con exclusives, a limited number will be made available sometime after the show on Hasbro Pulse. So, no date on when that is. But again, I think the set will definitely be available online to those not going to Comic-Con. How long it lasts, I don't know. I feel like this set is going to be fairly popular, even though I already see people not happy with the $90 price tag. But I still feel like this one is going to be pretty popular. So, and we've seen in the past Hasbro where they've taken popular San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, and after they sell out, even though they're definitely saying right now while supplies last, but I've seen them. We've seen them in the past where if something sells out pretty quickly, they'll flip over to a made to pre-order, and then basically have another round made, and those people have to wait longer, but then eventually at least they do get it. So I don't know if they would do that or not, but I do feel like whenever the date is announced for when they're going to put up the Comic-Con exclusives online, if you want this one, you didn't go to San Diego and pick it up or what have you, I would probably recommend trying to be online that day, because again, I feel like this one has real potential to sell out. All right, while we're on the subject of Marvel, we got images for the new Sentinel Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, a Spider-Punk figure. This has not yet gone up for pre-order, I don't think, at places like Big Bad Toy Store. At least last time I checked. It's been a hectic morning, so just double checking, make sure I didn't miss it. No, I don't think it's gone up. They should likely have it at some point. But if you're into Across the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Punk looks pretty decent from these images. Have unmasked and masked heads. You have web effects. You have this guitar, of course. Quite a few companies have done this version of Spider-Man, so again, I think some other like Hobby Link Japan, I think, has put this up yet so far, but we already talked about the Mondo, so nothing really new there with that Carnage figure. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you on the Marvel Legend front. Though again, just a reminder, we do have a Marvel Legend pre-order coming up tomorrow with the Venom Spider-Man, or the Venom Captain America Marvel vs. Capcom inspired 2-pack, $60. Will be available Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. So fairly readily available. I don't think this one's going to sell out. I could see maybe Amazon maybe would sell out. I don't know, but it's not going to be like last week's Psylocke and Omega Red, or Psylocke and Thanos 2-pack. Star Wars. So the only thing I have for you is we have yet another fan stream. Hopefully this one won't get canceled. This one is coming this Friday the 13th, 11 a.m. So we'll have full coverage up at Jedi Insider, and then I'll be back on Friday to tell you all about it in the afternoon, all about whatever is revealed. So just note your calendar if you want to watch it yourself at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the Hasbro YouTube channel. All right, let's jump over to Transformers. So yesterday we did have a Transformer live stream. It did go forward. It was only about 30 minutes, so it wasn't terribly long. As per usual, everything that went up for pre-order pretty much leaked out. Images leaked out the day before. This time, thanks to Amazon France for leaking most of the images. So we had this, if you've been collecting the G2 colored Dinobot reissues, from the Studio series in G2 colors, we've got that latest 2-pack that has gone up for pre-order that has the Slug and the Snarl. So all these pre-orders went live yesterday afternoon, so everything here is now currently available. We had the next 2 aerial bots, and in fact, the final 2 aerial bots go up for pre-order. So if you're trying to build your Superion, again, these are now available. So Fireflight and Skydive, I pre-ordered those. I have the first two already. I'm still waiting for Silver Bolt, and then of course these final two, which are said to ship in November. So we'll see if they ship out. And there's a look at Superion completely combined. I think they did a pretty good job with this set. Overall, I've been pretty happy with it. Let's see. Next up, we've got another one I thought was pretty cool. Also, this Insecticon. I want to say it's part of the Age of Primes line. Go back here. I got to read what they're calling him. Venom is what they're naming it. But I never owned these, but there was a second wave of Insecticons done back in the day during the original G1 days where they took these Insecticons that were like weirdly colored and released them. So again, I never had these, but that's what this is in keeping of. So if you're into Insecticons, these are ones that you might want to check out. I'll come back to this one. This one, Micronus Prime, again, part of the Age of Primes, but this one's not like based on any kind of G1 character, I don't believe. This is kind of like a new creation for that line. Or if he's based on an older toy I'm not familiar with. This one, though, Alpha Trion. So this one I thought was pretty cool. I haven't pre-ordered this one yet, but I may end up picking this one up. That's not the first time we've gotten an Alpha Trion figure, but this one looks pretty in keeping with how he looked in the cartoon. Especially if you're going to get the aerial bots, I feel like in Stunticons you got to get Alpha Trion. Here's a look at the packaging. This guy, again, Age of Prime's not a character I'm familiar with, so I don't know if this is a brand new character or they pulled it from somewhere else. But name Flatline. I like the color scheme with the black and red. His robot mode could look a little cooler, in my opinion, but again, I do like the color scheme. I like his vehicle mode. It looks better there with the jetpack or the missile launcher on his back, kind of reminiscent. Or no, actually, I'm sorry, that's in his. Actually, how is it? Yeah, I think that's on his back. Kind of reminiscent of Ironhide, the old G1 toy Ironhide missile launcher that was in the back of the van. This guy, another Age of Prime dude. I'm going to go back and look up his name because I'm not super familiar with him. Onyx Prime, I believe, is that one. And then we've got Sandstorm and Slug Slinger, which is an Amazon exclusive 2-pack. So I think they did Sandstorm before, but another G1 triple changer, the Doom Buggy, and the helicopter. Or was it helicopter? Yeah. I just remember the one episode in season 3 with him, and he was like buddies with Octane or something like that, who was a Decepticon, of course. Again, the G2 Dinobots. Here's a look of all the G2 ones that they've done so far. So again, these are just repaints. And finally, also Amazon exclusive from the movies, The Fallen, Megatron. So that one also went up for pre-order. So still no official mention of that 86 Studio Series Megatron figure, though some package images have surfaced online for that one. This is the Takara Tommy version. I'm guessing Hasbro's going to wait until San Diego Comic-Con to announce this one. Gotta like I don't know this dude's name, but gotta like the little Megatron mask that he was wearing in his little video. And again, this was briefly available for. Oh, actually, no, sorry, that's a screenshot. This was briefly available for pre-order on Walmart, but then they pulled the listing. So that's, like I say, I'm thinking San Diego Comic-Con time for that one. All right, let's jump over. Let's start off with Mezco. Mezco today put up for pre-order a new 112 Collective figure. You can get this at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. Batman from Batman the Animated Series. So this is one they teased a while back, but you get 3 different head sculpts. You get 3 or 4. No, 3 head sculpts total. Multiple pairs of hands, the figure stand, grapple gun, gas mask. You get all kinds of accessories. There's a 112 Collective Joker from Batman the Animated Series. So, torch cutter, rebreather, infrared goggles, bat radio, Batmobile remote, infrared spray can, infrared spray FX attachment, grapple gun, grapple hook, 2 bat stars, 2 batarangs. So chocked with a fair amount of accessories, $116. So again, Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store on the Mezco store as well. So if you're into Batman the Animated Series, that's one that you might want to check out. From McFarlane, don't have a whole lot for you today. We'll have more to talk about on McFarlane on Friday because we've got the McFarlane Toy Show tomorrow. New episode of that. So that's at 1 p.m. But today, going up for pre-order was that Mira statue 1/8 scale. This is based on Scott Campbell's artwork. So the texturing is pretty nice looking on this figure. I'm not really into statues, but I think they did a pretty good job with it. If you're a big fan of Mira from the comics. So, like I said, that went up for pre-order today. And then also, don't forget tomorrow, along with the Marvel Legend 2-pack from McFarlane, we have the Superman versus Godzilla 2-pack. That will be going up again to places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. So this one's already started to see release overseas. For you NECA fans, we've got another San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that has been revealed. This time, Chucky, 7-inch scale Chucky going to the beach. So this is our fourth NECA Comic-Con exclusive. The turtle set also going to the beach, so Chucky and the turtles can hang out at the beach. And then we had the glow-in-the-dark figure that was revealed. We talked about that one, the Bride of Frankenstein, and then the Ben Cooper figure. So yeah, four NECA San Diego Comic-Con exclusive revealed so far. These will be available online June 18th through the 20th on the NECA store. So there's the packaging. There's your accessories. He comes with a surfboard as well. So Chucky and your turtles, can, if you get the turtle one, can also all go surfing together. I'm assuming this is based on something from the movie. They just didn't randomly decide to have Chucky go to the beach, but maybe they did. I don't know. I have not watched all the Chucky movies, so got the hey, want to lay towel, the little arm floaty things, so he doesn't drown. Because Chucky, of course, would drown. Would you know? You can kill him 20 times, but he goes surfing and he drowns. Get the suntan lotion. So don't have pricing on it, but I'm sure we'll learn that on the 18th. But again, another San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from NECA. And I think that brings us up to G.I. Joe. If you're into Star Trek, a new EXO 1/6 scale figure based on Christopher Pike from the original series, not to be mistaken with Christopher Pike from the new series on Paramount Plus. But this is based on the original actor who only appeared in the original pilot. And that brings us up to date. So let's get into G.I. Joe. So first of all, as mentioned, the live stream that Hasbro had announced for today was canceled last minute. We can only speculate as to why. And honestly, I can come up with a couple of different reasons. So obviously, again, one of the pre-orders, one of the items, and of course, images leaked out for everything yesterday. Well, except for the Pulse exclusive All Striker, leaked out late last night, as these things always do. As I said, anytime the live stream is the same day as pre-orders, you can almost guarantee the images are going to leak out the day early. Happened with Transformers yesterday, or the day before is when they leaked for yesterday's live stream. Happened yesterday for G.I. Joe's live stream that ended up getting canceled. So as far as theories, and again, I have no idea why they canceled it, especially waiting last minute, but obviously the figure that they pulled was the police officer figure, which images of that did leak out. So obviously I think it's pretty clear why they pulled the pre-order for the police officer figure. For now, they delayed it. It's still coming, but they've delayed it because obviously everything going on in the news right now with LA and now in other cities as well, where people are being arrested for protesting and things like that. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, that's just my speculation, but that seems like the obvious reason. So like Hasbro announced the cancellation of the live stream today. They didn't, they put up something on social media saying it had been canceled. But a lot of confusion. I gotten word from my own sources that the pre-orders were still going live today, And then I got an indication that one of the items was going to be pulled, but I wasn't told which one. My speculation was that it was going to be the police officer, again, because of everything going on right now in the news and such. Then Hasbro put up on their Facebook page, in their discussion, saying that this week's JoJo fan stream and pre-orders have been postponed. But again, I gotten different information that pre-orders were going forward and only one item had been pulled. And here's the thing. I don't think Hasbro at this late stage could have prevented the pre-orders from going up. There's no way Hasbro was going to get in touch with every one of their retail partners by, this was at like 11 o'clock this morning. Pre-orders were set to go live at 1 p.m. There was just no way they were going to get all of their retailer, get word out to all of their retail partners that to delay the pre-orders. So I don't know what this miscommunication was, why they put this message up. Of course, it was pretty well hidden. Most people didn't even see it. Toy Force alerted me to it because I hadn't even seen it. So, but I don't know where the miscommunication was. But obviously, it was very chaotic. I'm sure it was very chaotic this morning for Hasbro. So it's possible they canceled the live stream just because maybe they were planning on canceling all the pre-orders. I mean, that's probably the most logical, even though the one that I think was causing Hasbro concern was the police officer figure. But at some point in their decisioning process, somebody may have said, we're going to postpone all the pre-orders, and so let's cancel the live stream. Another possibility is that they kind of overwhelmed themselves this week. This was going to be the third live stream this week because, again, we had Transformers yesterday. We've got Star Wars on Friday. We just had a G.I. Joe live stream last week. And so they may have just decided, especially since all the images had leaked out, even though that happens all the time. So, they can't be shocked by that. But they may have just decided, who the crew that puts these live streams on, maybe they were a bit overwhelmed and maybe they were just like, hey, we don't really need to do this live stream, so let's postpone it. I'm sure they're going to do a live stream. I have to do checking. I haven't looked to see if there's any G.I. Joe pre-orders for next week, but obviously we've got the HasLab that is coming at the end of the month. So I'm sure they will do some type of live stream for that announcement. So they may have just decided, look, we've already got multiple live streams this week, and I don't know why they crammed them all into this week, but they did, and so they may have just decided, hey, let's just pass on the G.I. Joe one today. Though again, because it was so last minute, like literally, I mean, I was sitting there waiting for the video, and it was like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, they never take this long to put the video up. So I'm like, I'm popping over to the Hasbro Pulse Facebook page, and I notice in their announcement for the live stream, it says canceled event. So I'm like, oh crap. So that is that's my speculation. I think the most likely scenario is at some point in the decisioning process that obviously happened last minute, sometime this morning, they were going to cancel or postpone, not cancel because they would still come, but they were going to postpone all the pre-orders, but then I think decided that wasn't terribly feasible. And so at the last minute, they made a change and were like, let's just hold off on the police officer figure, and they put up everything else. But very confusing this morning, a lot of conflicting information. Again, and, if you followed TNI, I kept up to date. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I think you actually get better information on TNI than sometimes you do directly from Hasbro. So, but that was this morning, a lot of chaos. And then, of course, then the Marvel Legends San Diego Comic Con reveal came out this morning, and I was like all in the middle of this, and I'm like, oh, so had to get that up and everything. So it was just a very chaotic morning. And then because, I had information I had gotten saying everything but the one figure was going to go up, but then we did have this message on Hasbro Pulse. So basically just ended up having to wait until 1 p.m. to see if or what was going to go up for pre-order. So again, what did go up for pre-order, so, we talked about all of this on Wednesday. The only thing I was a little off on at Wednesday, I got word of this yesterday, but the Sergeant Slaughter, I wasn't sure if the Sergeant Slaughter Mercer 2-pack was going to end up being a Pulse exclusive or what. It ended up being a fan channel exclusive, and Walmart, or not Walmart, but Amazon also is carrying it. So Amazon, put up for pre-order all three things, just like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Nerdzoic as well. So those are all places you can check these out at. I'm sure on Hasbro Pulse as well, if that's where you decide to do your shopping. But the Sergeant Slaughter Mercer 2-pack, this is one I'm definitely going to pick up because I want the Mercer figure. I'm not that gung-ho on the Sergeant Slaughter. I'm fine with the Sergeant Slaughter I already have, but if you want a Desert Sergeant Slaughter, then there you go. The Retro Collection, Battle Android Trooper, I told you this one on Wednesday. The Retro Collection, Green Shirt, G.I. Joe Trooper, I told you that on Wednesday was going up for pre-order this week. Like I said this might be going up this week, but wasn't sure if it was Hasbro Pulse exclusive or not. And then finally, as I said, the police officer was supposed to go up today, but didn't. Got held back. Like I said, I know nothing official from Hasbro for why, but I think it's a safe assumption to say probably has something to do with they just didn't feel like it was a good time to put a figure like that up for pre-order with everything going on in the news. Also, I told you that I suspected that the All Striker was going to go up today as a Pulse exclusive, which is in fact what it did. So this one's going to cost you $100. Went up at $1 for premium members, but should be available for everybody now. I am on the fence on this one. I've been kind of waffling. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I've been waffling back and forth. Comes with crankcase. That third chair, which was not included in the original vehicle, is removable. So if you like it to look more like the original, you can. Has a little hoist crank in the front. I don't think that was included in the original. It's got a CB radio. It's got a missile launcher on the front. I don't think that was on the original either. It is like it's like a machine gun that like Roadblock uses. So I'm sure you can take that off and Roadblock can hold it. The missile launcher looks like might be removable. Kind of almost use it like a bazooka if you wanted. It's got a front gun as well. Yeah, I'm sure the wheels work similar to like the Vamp Jeep and everything. So, my main thing is I'm starting to run out of space for GI Joe vehicles, so I'm feeling like I'm starting to have to get a little more conservative. So that's why I have not. And crankcase is not like I actually never had the original All Striker as a kid, so this is one I never actually had as a kid. But so I'm a little undecided on this one, but again, it is a Pulse exclusive. It is available now. Last time I checked, it had not sold out, so I think it's still available. Again, price is $99.99. So these are the things, obviously, that Hasbro would have shown us during the live stream today, had they had it. I think I'll pick up. I'm probably going to pass on the bat. I've got enough bats already, to be honest. Unless I just get one to keep on the card back, but I will probably pick up at least one green shirt, and I will definitely pick up the Mercer Slaughter 2-pack. All right, now one final thing I want to talk to you about, and that is we've got a new update on tariffs from the president this morning. According to him, the U.S. and China has come to an agreement on a new trade deal. Now, the full details of the trade deal have not been made public. I'm a little confusing on exactly what's going on with the tariffs. This morning, in a social media post by the president, he suggested tariffs were going to be 55%. But I've been reading a little bit as far as clarification, and from what I understand, and I'm not going to say this 100%, and it could change 20 times between now and who knows when. But from what I understand, it looks like tariffs, there's going to be an overall flat tariff on China, on products that come in from China, of 30%, which includes toys. So that would be a drop from where we have been here. Obviously, a major drop from the original 145% that we were looking at last month. But then they dropped down to, what was it, 45% when they did the 90-day pause, or was it 50? Something like that. But dropping down to 30 will be lower. Now, as far as like this 55% that Trump mentioned, from what I understand, that additional 25% will be on specific goods, and I don't think toys will be affected by that. Now, I've talked to some retailers as well, and they're hoping that eventually, as time goes on, we could see some exceptions made in these tariffs for things like toys. But right now, it looks like we're going to be looking at a 30% tariff for the foreseeable future, added to things like toys. So I just wanted to share that with you. So if anything, hopefully maybe we'll see some prices come down a little bit for anyone that raised prices some, but I really don't think anything's going to drastically change from where we've been the last several weeks to this newest announcement as far as prices go. Also, I've had some people. So several companies have been notifying people who pre-ordered directly from them, like Mondo, with like the real Ghostbuster figure, the Peter Venkman one, where they've been letting people know about delays. I think McFarlane Toys sent out one recently to folks. So, the delay, you're going to see delays. Some of the Hasbro figures I think have been delayed because, at the height of the tariff situation, things started to back up as things were not shipping from China, and that's going to cause some. It's not going to. We're talking about a month or so delay, I think. But that's why you're hearing about these delays. It's because of the tariff situation. But I think things have started to flow again, and like I say, in the overall scheme of things, I would say those delays will be pretty minor. All right, so let's just see what you guys are talking about. What's up, Mac Zombie? Bill in the house. Seeing some late people coming in. Hank V, what's up? Or is it Hank 5? Hank V sounds better. Judge Dredd says, snap is the sound your wallet breaking in regards to the Marvel Legends San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Phil, am I going to San Diego this year? I am likely not personally going to Comic-Con this year. I've got some folks going who will be covering the show for the websites. I will be here at headquarters coordinating all the news efforts. But no, me personally this year, I am not attending. Um, Seems like I only go when Marvel Studios is going. I don't think we talked about it, but Marvel Studios is not going to have a Hall H presentation. That's not why I'm not going this year, but just like I went last year, and that was like the first year I think since COVID that Marvel had returned for Hall H. Um, and this time it's because they delayed the release of the Avengers Doomsday and the two Avengers movies they pushed till later in the year, and so I guess it didn't make sense to them. They didn't have any big thing to push uh, during that Comic Con period. So, but no, I won't say 100%, but more than likely, I don't think I will be personally attending this year. But we will, of course, have full coverage up on the sites of everything that gets revealed. Elio in the house. Hasbro's a total mess. Their marketing teams are. That's not fair criticism, dude. I'm sorry, but it's not. There's a lot of chaos going on right now in the world, and that has certainly played a part. But I don't think it's fair to say that total amateurs. And Hasbro's also a huge company, and they've got, I mean, a lot of different moving parts. So a figure fury, that's a big statement. I don't love the exclusives, but concerning Joe and Marvel, they seem to be receptive to the fan base than ever, more than ever. Also, Figure Fury says, hello, everyone. Uh, LJ not the middle management people we see, but the higher ups. They don't respond to endless complaints about exclusives. Well, again, we've talked about this. Exclusives are never going to go away. It doesn't matter how many people complain about them, especially store exclusives, because the retailers pay for those exclusives. And the toy companies like Hasbro, they can't just, those are their biggest customers. So they have to appease those guys. And San Diego is not exactly the same kind of situation, but San Diego is a big giant event, and San Diego expects companies like Hasbro to have exclusives that are going to draw in people. So, but I think Hasbro in recent years, for most of their Comic Con exclusives, have done a pretty good job of making them available to those who want them, even if they don't go to the ship. I won't say it's perfect, and there are a few hit or misses, but in general, I think if you want them, if you stay tuned to information like when the pre-orders are going to happen, things like that, I think most people end up being able to get what they want. But exclusives, and it's not. We're not just talking about Hasbro. Any major toy company, especially that has a presence in Walmart and Target and such, store exclusives are always going to be a part of this hobby, and they're just never going to go away. And it doesn't matter how much you complain about it; it's not going to change that reality. And I don't like exclusives either for the most part, but again, it's just the way it is, and it's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's going to always be as long as these companies have presence in these large retail stores. Oceano, yeah, Serpentor, was a definite screw up, but again, I think Serpentor will eventually get released on a. Well, two things with Serpentor. Serpentor did go up around that time frame. It was available more than once on Hasbro Pulse. Now it sold out fairly quickly because it was just such a high demand figure. And I don't really. Serpentor to me was a weird choice for a Comic Con exclusive, but I think the GI Joe team learned their lesson. That's why we got something this year like the Cold Slither box set. So yeah, I'll give you that one. The Serpentor and even like was the Doctor. I get confused on which ones were exclusive. Like But Dr. Mindbender they released on the retro card back, so those that missed out on that one now have an opportunity for that one. Chuckles is another one that people maybe kind of missed out on, but I'm sure down the road you'll get another shot at it. So yeah, nobody's perfect, no company's perfect, but I don't, you some of you guys, I'm sorry, but you just it's somebody said somewhere on social media it's cool to bash Hasbro, and so some of you just do it, but I don't think most of the criticism, I won't say most, but a good number of the criticism that I see some of you try and levy against Hasbro is very fair criticism. Um, so I just, and I'm sure somebody will make a video saying that I'm shilling for Hasbro, which is bullshit. I'm not shilling for Hasbro. I'm perfectly willing to call Hasbro out on bullshit, but I just see a lot of unfair criticism, especially when they do so many different collector oriented lines, more so than probably any other toy company out there. And also, and they are a big corporation. They're not a small toy manufacturer. They're one of the biggest guys in town, and I think they probably do it better than especially any large toy company. Oh, the Watcher, yes, as we were just talking about. Now the Death Heads figure. No, this is not like the Death Heads figure was not actually a Comic Con exclusive. They made it first available at Comic Con, but that was a general release figure. That was available pretty much, or at least everywhere online. I don't think any physical stores carried that figure, at least not like Walmart or Target, but like Amazon had it, and all the online e-tailers had it eventually. But it was first made available to those going to Comic Con. But that's like the only time they've ever, I think, done that, at least with Marvel Legends. And this one, from everything Hasbro sent out about it, is an actual Comic Con exclusive. So um, again, they will have a limited number available on Hasbro Pulse sometime after the show, along with all their San Diego Comic Con exclusives. Um, And I think, other than Star Wars, I think we basically know all of Hasbro's Comic Con exclusives, because we've got the Marvel Legends set that has now been officially revealed. I don't know if we actually ever talked about the Transformer one, but this is going to be the Transformer one, which is a Jetfire repaint based on the new, Skybound comic book series. So, coming with these little figures from characters from the comic. So that's this year's Transformer San Diego Comic Con exclusive. And then G.I. Joe is the Cold Slither set. Which, they showed off in last week's live stream. And then also the Ghostbusters ones that we talked about on Monday. So those Ecto Glow figures and the Ecto 1, these 4-inch figures that glow in the dark, I guess, and for the real Ghostbusters, and then the Ecto 1. By the way, this was just like a cardboard cutout that they had on display during Ghostbuster Day, but that's this year's San Diego Comic Con Ghostbuster exclusive. So I think, other than Star Wars, and maybe we'll find that out on Friday, I don't know, but other than Star Wars, I think we know about all of Hasbro's Comic Con exclusives now. Asiano, that's why I was surprised they were making a police. Well, I mean, when the figure was, first of all, in general, there's nothing wrong with police officers. Okay, again, what's going on in the news today, which is not really the police fault anyway, but obviously they're at the forefront of arresting protesters and stuff. So obviously, you know, the timing of that figure going up for pre-order is not the best this week. But obviously Hasbro didn't know that this week all of this was going to be happening when they planned the figure. And I'm sure the figure will go up for pre-order probably still sometime. Well, I guess we'll see how things play out over this week. But yeah, I mean, the figure is going to go up for pre-order. And certainly, like I said, there's no way Hasbro could have known what was going to start happening this week. No, not canceled, postponed. It's just not going up for pre-order today. It's still coming, but it has not been canceled. I don't know. I mean, I don't collect generic figures, so none of those 60th anniversary legacy collection figures have personally interest me because again, I don't collect GI Joe for just generic. The green shirt's about as close as you're going to get me to buy something like that, and that's only because those guys did have a pretty large presence in the cartoon. But I'm not really into generic figures, so none of those anniversary collector oriented figures. But I mean, obviously there are plenty of people out there who are into those types of figures. So Jay's Toy Collection UK, what is up? Welcome to you folks from overseas. Davey sucked the rubber bulleted an Australia reporter. So this, okay, it's a little off topic here, but this, like, because I've been watching about what's been going on in LA, but I didn't know this. So those rubber bullets that they fire, which are non-lethal, obviously, but what I didn't know is the way it works is they actually shoot the bullet down onto the ground, and then it hits the ground and bounces up. So it's not likely going to hit you in the head, which even a rubber bullet, if it hits you the wrong way, could be lethal if it hits you in the head. But it's meant to hit you like in the midsection area. Now, I think in the case of the Australian reporter that the video has been going around, she just was in the wrong place at the wrong time when the bullet bounced up. But I mean, that's when you're a member of the media and you're covering something like this, and you're inserting yourself into crowds like that, that's just one of the dangers that you have to face. There was a second journalist, photographer, who also got hit with one of those rubber bullets. Actually had to go to the hospital. He was hit like in the thigh or something, but I guess it hit him in just the right place that he ended up having to go to the hospital. But that, again, I mean, journalists that go out to cover these things, that's the danger that they're putting themselves. John, good to hear from you in Ireland. But I was just point with the rubber bullets because I actually thought that when they shoot those rubber bullets, they actually were shooting them at people directly. And then I was listening to them talk about it on the news, and they actually, again, they shoot them down at the ground, and then the bullets, because they're rubber, bounce up and then hit people. That San Diego Comic Con exclusive Legend set was a surprise to me today, as I was thinking it was G.I. Joe Day, but then found out it was canceled. Yeah, hectic morning. I don't know. Like, I don't know if Hasbro would. I'm gonna say. I was gonna say for a minute. I wasn't sure if Hasbro just threw that out after all the chaos with G.I. Joe, just to kind of distract people. But I'm pretty sure that was probably planned anyway, because the first one to reveal it was, I think, Comic Book Resource or Comic Book Movie, one of those mass media sites, and so I think that was planned well ahead of this morning's GI Joe events. But the set didn't surprise me. We talked about that Shanna figure, and I'm pretty sure I sat here on one of the live streams and said, you know what? I bet it's going to be a San Diego Comic Con exclusive, and I bet it's going to come with like a reissue of the Sauron figure. Now, I didn't call the Rogue figure that we talked about it because we talked about Rogue, and somebody said, it's the same. They'll probably use the same body to give us Rogue at some point, and I think we all kind of agreed that that was a good likelihood. But I don't think I ever said Rogue was likely going to be in the set, though it makes sense. I was thinking more maybe they'd throw in another Savage Land character, like specific to the Savage Land. Obviously, that Rogue's wearing that outfit that she wore in the Savage Land, but so I wasn't like really shocked about what was in the set. I was not expecting the reveal to come today, and of course, like I say, I was in the middle of trying to figure out what exactly was going on with all the GI Joe stuff, and then having to switch gears and post about that as well. Oceano, yes. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think and it's not even that. I mean, if the original artwork, because I want to say she first, I, I want to say she first appeared in that outfit in the '90s swimsuit edition that Marvel put out, if I'm remembering right. And I mean, this figure looks pretty good, even though, like I said, the face kind of looks like Miley Cyrus. But but definitely that issue. If you've ever picked up the '90s Marvel swimsuit edition issues, those were definitely they definitely pushed the barriers with the way they drew some of those characters. And I will also say, as far as like scantily clad figures, I feel like that's probably more of a Disney directive than a Hasbro one. There's a reason why the Madeline Pryor that they were going to release with the HasLab, in my view, was a better looking figure than the one they ended up releasing in the X-Men '97 series. And I'm going by some of your guys' political comments, but I'm trying to stay away from politics here as much as possible. So I give you the bare minimum of the effects that it's having on the toy industry, but I'm not going to share my personal thoughts just because that's not what you guys are tuning in for here. Cowabunga, dude, before COVID, I had to get exclusives on eBay at 3 times the price. No problem getting them after the big germ. I know it's a long time ago. It's hard. So here's something funny. I don't know if you'll believe this or not, but even though, especially at least up until COVID, I would go to San Diego Comic Con every year to work to cover the show. I almost never bought exclusives at Comic Con because I didn't have time. I didn't have time to sit in the lines and wait for them. And very few companies, I can count on one hand, a few times over the 25 years I've been covering it. Yes, Hasbro like would let people like me in the media bypass the line to go in and buy whatever exclusives we wanted without having to stand in line. But like I said, I can count on one hand the number of times even that happened um, in the 25 years I've been covering this stuff. But I actually generally have to wait for them for a company. If it's an exclusive I want, I have to wait for, I would have to wait for the company to put it online just like the rest of you, even though I was there at Comic Con, but I just didn't have time to sit in the lines. And generally, I don't sit around going, hey, can you give me a free Comic Con exclusive? And they generally didn't offer either. So that's kind of the thing. So now the advantage for me is I generally know exactly when the things are going to go online. I'm sitting on the computer because I'm posting about it. So if it is something available online, I'm usually one of the first people that can get in there and buy it online. Whereas I know a lot of you probably, you're at work or whatever, and you can't always just be online at the exact moment that something goes up. But so it is a little easier probably for me to be able to buy stuff online than some of you guys, but but generally, very often I would be in the same boat as you guys and have to, if it was something I wanted, I would have to, wait till I got home and then buy it online. Um, Now, a trick for those of you who do go to Comic Con, if it's something, some things obviously sell out very quickly. Though usually companies will, nowadays at least, companies will ration. So like they'll do a set number each day. So if you're only going on one day, you'll still at least have some slim chance of getting it if you're willing to stand in a long ass line. And like I say, now they do the lottery thing through Comic Con itself, which I've never really fooled with. So I'm not any expert on that. But usually, if it's something that's not going to sell out instantly, if you're there on a Sunday, if you're there on, Comic Con on Sunday, it's usually much easier to, the lines are not nearly as long, and, you can usually get in pretty quickly and get what you want. And like I say, I don't like exclusives any more than you do for a variety of reasons. Um, some that don't even apply to you, some that are like business, like for me, it's always better when it's a general release because then our sponsors carry the item, and then I can help our sponsors promote them buying it, and that helps the websites with ad revenue. But if it's a someplace that is not a sponsor, you know I I mean, I'm still going to post about it because it's news, but I don't make, the sites don't make any real money from posting about an exclusive that's belongs to somebody that's not a not a sponsor. And again, that's something you guys don't have to worry about. But that's just one more reason why I personally not a huge fan of exclusives. But again, I could sit here and rant every day in a video ranting about exclusives, and it's not going to change a damn thing. The exclusives will happen as long as the stores want to carry them because they're paying for them, and no toy company is going to turn that down. Profit. Oh, I trust James Gunn. I'm a Guardians day one fan. I assume you're talking about Superman. So I saw something interesting. I think it was this week, but I saw like that Superman movie tickets were out selling. People who are, I don't know why people order tickets so far in advance. To be absolutely honest, in the old days, I understood it, but and I mean, I guess let me rephrase. If you're in an area like mine where you've got like, I've got um, 3 to 4 different movie theaters all in driving distance of me, so I don't usually have to worry about not being able to get a seat. And nowadays, you can reserve your seats in advance. So, like, I'll go online. If I'm going to go to the movie, I'll go online maybe that morning or maybe even the day before. But like I've never pre-ordered a movie ticket like weeks in advance of the movie opening. Now, if you're in an area where you've only got one movie theater and like in distance of driving distance of you, then I can maybe understand it because at least if you want to go on opening weekend, because it would probably be harder under those circumstances. But anyway, where I was going with this is I heard that the Superman movie was sales early ticket sales were outpacing the Fantastic Four movie. Both movies opened in July, and obviously, Superman's the big tentpole movie for DC this year, and Fantastic Four is the big tentpole movie for Marvel this year. But I'm like these people act like it's a surprise that Superman is outpacing Fantastic Four in ticket sales, and I'm like, no, duh. And it's simply because Superman is like DC's big number one star, other than maybe Batman. There is no bigger draw that DC has for a movie. So of course Superman, and while Fantastic Four is I think going to be fairly popular, and people like Fantastic Four, but the Fantastic Four in general are not in the same category as Superman. I mean, so anyone who thought Fantastic Four was going to outsell ticket wise Superman, unless early reviews of Superman end up being horrible, so much so that people decide not to go see it. I don't think there's much chance that a Fantastic Four is going to outdo Superman at the box office. And it's not, that has nothing to do with which one do I like better or anything. It's just like, yeah, Superman is your biggest character that you have to draw on. Fantastic Four for Marvel is not, and so of course, Superman's likely going to be more popular. Plus, it's a relaunching of the DC universe. This is the big, is James Gunn going to be able to pull it off? Is he going to be able to, for the first time, make DCU viable? We'll have to wait and see. But I imagine there's a lot of pressure on this movie. Because my big question is, and it has been almost since day one that it was announced James Gunn was taking over the DCU movies. What happens if Superman doesn't perform that well at the box office? Is Warner Brothers going to just scrap everything again, kind of like they did with the Snyder movies? Or will they carry forward with their plans? And that's really kind of what I'm waiting to see and what happens. TV party, you can't talk about tariffs or protests without being political. Well, yes and no. Obviously, we're delving into politics, but I'm not. And again, I'm not condemning any of you guys for your comments. I'm just saying I'm steering away from them because, I mean, I could go into long rants about politics and the state of the world and stuff, but again, that's just not what this channel was made for. You're here to hear me talk about toys. So if it's something directly affecting toys, I'll mention it, but I'm not going to get into my personal thoughts about what's going on, is all I'm saying. If you guys want to chat about that in the comments yourselves, as long as you're keeping it civil, that I have no problem with. Easy. Fantastic Four is outpacing Thunderbolts and Brave New World. I think Brave New World. I'm just like I thought Thunderbolts was great, and I keep seeing like Thunderbolts was a box office flop and blah. Like it made $380 million on some block, and so I don't know. But I thought Thunderbolts was a really good movie. I know it's been a while since I could say that about an MCU movie, but and I mean, I think, especially when it comes out on home release, anyone who didn't go to the theater to see it will end up checking it out. And again, I think people will like it. So I really like Thunderbolts. As far as its box office success, it's hard to say, but I definitely feel like Thunderbolts was a winner for Marvel. FF looks awful. What's now 4-0 movies counting 400. But my thing, I mean, until I see it, I'm certainly not going to say it's not going to be awful. But there's nothing in the previews that says this is going to be a bad movie. I'm not sure. I'll be the first to say I wasn't super excited about this being starting off in some type of alternate Earth, but we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, as far as the look of the movie and the characters, I, there's nothing I find that's been bad. Good evening, y'all, from Toy Force. Profit. Warner Brothers got bans from Aquaman and Wonder Woman. They still change plans more. Well, the first movies, but but I don't think the second Wonder Woman movie, which I got, that movie was bad. And I Aquaman, to me, I was not a fan of either one. I actually have not yet watched the second Aquaman movie because at that point they had basically all but said, we're done with these Snyder characters. So I was even like, what's even the point of watching this movie? And again, I wasn't a huge fan of the first Aquaman movie. I have no problem with the actor, even though he really never struck me as Aquaman. I mean, I think he'll be much better as Lobo. But that second one, I mean, the first Wonder Woman movie was pretty decent, and I think Gal Gadot did a pretty good job of Wonder Woman overall. But that second movie was just terrible. Oh, Brave New, you guys talking about the Captain America? I thought Captain America. So out of the three Captain America movies that we've gotten, or I'm sorry, out of the four Captain America movies that we've gotten, Brave New World was probably my least favorite, but I didn't hate it. I thought some of the CGI was a little weak, especially compared to older MCU movies. That was probably my biggest complaint about that movie was I thought the CGI was a little weak, especially because I live in the Washington D.C. area. So, that area where Hulk and Cap fought at the end of the movie, I used to bike around that area all the time. So, I'm very familiar with that area, and it came off looking really fake when they filmed it. But the movie itself, I didn't have any real problems with. I was disappointed they didn't do more with the adamantium angle. I think that would have really been, especially with how adamantium ties into Cap's shield in the comics. I was really hoping they were going to do more with that. Um, but again, I didn't hate the movie. And as far as it being my fourth out of my least favorite of the four Captain America, that's because honestly, I think the Captain America movies have been some of the best MCU movies overall. The first Captain America movie was out of the Chris Evans ones, I think was probably the weakest, but even that I thought was pretty decent. Um, Winter Soldier was great, and Civil War is one of my favorites just because of seeing all the heroes kind of match up for the first time. You know, I love that movie. So, yeah, the bar is pretty high on Captain America for me because, like I say, to me, those are some of the best MCU movies we've gotten. Like Iron Man, like the first Iron Man movie, I thought was great. Iron Man 2, I didn't think was that great. And Iron Man 3, I thought sucked. So, I mean, Tony Stark as Iron Man overall is great. I mean, he was great in the Avengers movies. But as far as Iron Man movies go, really only the first Iron Man movie is one that I hold in high regards. Alexander, yes, at the moment we were talking about Marvel movies and specifically Brave New World. Well, I worked around the corner at Forest Hills with the first Spider Man movie was filmed by his aunt's house. Nice. Raby, I think Hasbro livestream was canceled because it was pre-recorded with the police officer. That's a possibility. That is very possible as well. You're right. That's I forget that nowadays they've been doing more pre-recorded videos. So that good call there, Ray. The Watcher. Yeah, I can't stand. I'm so tired of nanotech in the MC. I got to tell you where they pushed the limits of nanotech is when they started incorporating nanotech into the CWDC shows, like when Supergirl started suiting up with nanotech. I just had to laugh at that. Shreds. I guess I'm not excited for any superhero movies anymore. Too many. I will. This is something. Anything that's like universe building is all. It's hard to imagine. How long ago it actually was when that first Iron Man movie came out, and I mean, there are people that were like teenagers that weren't even born when that movie came out now. Like to me, I feel like it's like that movie didn't come out that long ago, but it actually is a very long time ago. So if you just think about all how many movies they've put out since that first Iron Man movie, and that it often, you have to kind of keep, you have to watch all these movies and in some cases TV shows to really be able to follow what's going on. I mean, I can understand why they've lost a lot of general audience goers, and it's just like the hardcore fans that continue to go see the movies because I mean, I love the universe building thing, but I think at some point you have to try and just kind of start fresh so that it's more enticing to new people who aren't going to take the time to go back and rewatch every old movie that came out before it. And whether that's Star Wars or Star Trek or Marvel or DC, I think that's just something that you have to kind of real. I mean, I don't think honestly when they started, the MCU with the first Iron Man movie, I don't think they really envisioned the huge success that they were going to have, or that they would still be doing MCU movies today. I don't think they planned that far ahead. So I just think, it gets to, I like continuity. I can't stand when I watch a Star Trek series and they start screwing with continuity. But at the same time, I understand to a certain extent how something that happened back in the 1960s, isn't necessarily going to resonate with new viewers today. And so, sometimes you have to let go of continuity, I guess. But it's kind of a catch-22 with that type of thing. But all right, well, what time is it? Oh, we've gone way past the hour. So I will be back on Friday. We've got the McFarlane Toy Show tomorrow, so we'll get some more McFarlane reveals tomorrow. And then Friday is the Star Wars fan stream, and I'm going to assume it's not going to be canceled. So I'll be back on Friday to talk about both of those things and anything else that happens between now and then. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully you've been able to get whatever you were wanting to pre-order. Don't forget, tomorrow, Marvel Legends with the Venom Captain America 2-pack will be available as a fan channel Amazon release. So I don't think you'll have to worry about that one selling out. Oh, and don't forget, we've got we've got Target Geek Out this Friday, technically the second week for Target Geek Out, which, until I hear otherwise, I'm going to assume is going to be McFarlane. We might get a confirmation of that tomorrow during the McFarlane Toy Show, but I'm thinking probably McFarlane. We talked about that on Wednesday, but we've got that coming up on Friday as well. So, and Superman Godzilla 2-pack for anyone wanting that from McFarlane goes up for pre-order at 12 p.m. tomorrow. And again, that should be, even though it'll probably sell out quickly. I don't know if that'll sell out quickly. We'll have to see. But again, that goes up for pre-order tomorrow. Well, we're going to leave it there for today. Again, thanks everyone who has tuned in. I hope you guys stay safe. Again, now more than ever, please stay safe out there. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to ToyNewsEye.com, MarvelousNews.com, JediInsider.com, and TFormers.com. And remember, action figures are great,